Oh my god, is it actually working? Could we be so lucky? I think we might be in business. Oh my god, is it actually working? It is actually working. Sweet, let me update Twitter and we'll get back to what we were doing. Hooey. Excuse me. Alright, I think we're good. Tweet's gone out so people know that we're back. Yeah, I'm gonna kick it back over to Street Fighter. What an ordeal. All in all, it really wasn't that bad. I did get a chance to reinstall Street Fighter 5, but I'm still having the same audio issues, so I gotta figure that out. That's really irking me. It's not a big deal, but when there's just like random sounds missing from your game, and you've gone through and you fixed it all and all that stuff, and you even reinstalled the game. Oh. What do? You carry on, I guess. Okie dokie. So last I think we left off, we were doing stuff with Laura in training mode. And so shall we continue with doing stuff with Laura in training mode. Hang on, let me let a buddy know. Hey, let me let him know that we're back. We're gonna go down here. Gotta go to Rio. If you're playing Laura, you has to go to Rio. Where's she at? There she is.
Lara.
Double up.
Lara.
Excuse me, guys. Sorry about the yawning. That's rude, and I apologize. And squeeze, zap, zap. Okay, so we actually wait on a buddy of mine. I'm doing this at his behest because he's trying to learn this character, and I'm trying to help him learn this character. We're really Street Fighter in general, so what we're going to go over is kind of like stuff in general, and then kind of just how to start learning a character, or at least how I would start learning a character. If you're kind of new, if you're kind of new to this whole thing, basically just some best practices, things to do to kind of help get you started on the right path. You know, because you know sometimes like there's a lot to know in a fighting game, right? There's a lot to know, and sometimes you don't know where to start. I feel like a lot of people automatically start with combos. Like they don't really understand the move properties. I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna let him hop in here. Let me see if he's ready, because I don't want him to miss any of this. I don't want to repeat it twice if I don't have to. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure how updated this viewer list is, but let me know if you guys need me to repeat anything. We certainly will. So yeah, give me just a few more minutes here, and we will resume regularly scheduled programming. Hey, there he is. Hey, well, there you go, Tristan. I was waiting on you, Ham. I was waiting on you, fam. Yeah. I didn't want to say too much more without you watching, so I'll give it a few seconds to catch up, and then we'll continue. Let me know when you're ready. Dope. Okay. So yeah, like I was just saying just a moment ago, basically, like, this is kind of how I approach new characters in general. Like, assuming you don't really know anything about them at all. First things first. I always turn on the tag data. Key display, sometimes if there's like a move or something, I'm having trouble with it coming out when I need it, I usually turn that on as well. At first, for the dummy settings, I normally keep dummy on. At first, just to see what the moves do when they hit, I leave it on no guard, and I always turn stun off, because otherwise you have to wait for your character to become unstunned, and that sucks. So, what I do, I grab my FAT tool, my FAT tool, and I look at the buttons, right? I look at what happens when I hit them. I look at the frame data, right? And so we're just going to go over each button one at a time, and we're going to kind of like talk about what it does, what it probably does, and then once we kind of have gone over all the buttons, then we will we'll test a few things to see if we were right. So first things first, I believe we left off on jab. Stand jab is 3 frames fast, or 3 frames fast meaning it starts up in 3 frames. If you hear somebody say a move is 3 frames, then that usually indicates that the move starts up in that amount of frames. So in this case, stand jab is 3 frames, and I believe I mentioned that that's good. Characters who have 3 frame buttons can simply punish more things cleanly than characters who don't. Usually light attacks range anywhere from 3 frames to 5 frames, depending upon what the move is and what kind of character it is. Like, obviously, fatter characters like Birdie generally have slower normals, but usually to offset that, they'll have better frame advantage on block and hit, so that you can do more off of it. Not a constant, but that's generally how things work. Usually the faster characters, the buttons come out faster, but they're usually less advantageous. Not always the case, as we're going to find out here. So this is a 3 frame startup jab. It's got decent distance for a jab. She's meant to be close anyway. If you notice, it hits just beyond the palm. Like if I scooch in forward here and at the right distance, you'll see it. It almost looks like it sucks her in because of where her hitbox is. So you want to play around with that. You always want to try to like figure out how far away you can hit with a button, because obviously you can be on top of them and hit with it, and that's all well and good, but knowing how far away you can be to tag an enemy with a 3 frame normal is incredibly important and incredibly powerful once you get used to doing it. Okay, so let's move on to stand medium punch. We're not going to dwell on this too much, because obviously we'll be kind of rehashing stuff as we test things. So, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't done. I didn't really delve into the frame advantage. So this move on block is 2 frames. It's advantage 2 frames. So it's +2 basically is what people generally call that. Plus means you are at advantage. Minus means you are at disadvantage. It's just as simple as that. So if a move is minus, that means that your opponent recovers and is able to technically act before you by however many frames you are at disadvantage, or vice versa. So since this move is +2 on block, if your opponent blocks this attack, then you recover 2 frames faster than they do. And I know we talked about some of this yesterday, so I'm not going to beat you over the head with it too much. But just to kind of solidify all this. Usually moves are more advantageous or conversely less disadvantageous on hit than they are block. And that's kind of how combos work in this game too. Things that don't naturally chain, you rely on the hit frame advantage to kind of dictate what buttons you can push afterwards. So, case in point, this move is +3 on hit. So even if this move didn't chain, I can link, meaning I can hit the button, wait for it to completely finish, and then hit another button. And I have time for this move to hit cleanly, meaning I get a combo. Like that. Like, you can't tell, okay, it looks like her stand jab is not chainable, meaning you can't mash it. So you have to link it, which means you hit the button, and you wait for her to hit the attack and pull her hand back, and before you press it again. And if you do that as fast as you can, obviously there's a little buffer there to help you. The game gives you like a 3-frame buffer window with which to do this, so you don't have to do it perfectly. But as long as you're close enough, you get the rhythm down, it will combo, and you'll see it. You'll get the 2 hits. Also important is knowing how far away these moves move you when you hit them. If you notice, you can get 2 of these out, but the third one will pretty much always whiff. That's good to know, because you don't want to go, oh, I hit him with 1, I'm going to do 2 more. No, you won't, because now you're whipping this attack in their face, and this move has 9 frames of recovery. Now, recovery comes in, it's most important when you are whiffing attacks, meaning from start to finish, like this move starts up in 3 frames, but it is active and it's just out there for 9. Active and recovery are kind of different things. We'll kind of talk about that now, just so it's you understand what I'm talking about when I mention these things for the rest of the attacks. So we've discussed startup. That's how fast a move becomes active. So this jab takes 3 frames, 3/60ths of a second to become active, to where it'll actually hit the opponent. Once it is active, this move is active for 2 frames. So after the initial 3-frame startup, there are 2 additional frames when it is active, when this move is capable of hitting, right? Recovery is 9 frames. Basically meaning that from the moment this move is active, it takes 9 frames to go back to the way it was. Now, again, I say this is most important with whiffs, because obviously with block and hit advantage, those numbers matter in each particular circumstance. Like, if you are hit with this move, the recovery doesn't matter as much, because you are automatically put into a very specific state in which, if you're hitting with this particular move, you are +3. If you hit with this move like that, if it just hits, you recover 3 frames faster than your opponent. Period. The only thing that will change that number is a counter hit, and counter hits give you more advantage. But we're not going to talk about that just yet, because that's what's going to convolute things, and we don't need that. It's already kind of complex enough. And let me know, please ask if like any of this is like confusing, if you're not getting it. But yeah, so anyway, this move is +3 on hit, +2 on block. We'll go on for now. We'll talk more about how this stuff strings together, right? So let me open up my fat tool again. My phone went to sleep. Usually your lightest attacks are going to be your fastest, medium attacks are going to be somewhere in the middle, and heavy attacks are going to be the slowest to start up. In most cases, that's not law. There are a few characters where that kind of buck that trend. But anyway, we're moving on to Laura's next stand punch normal. Medium punch. Medium punch starts up in 6 frames. So this starts up, it takes twice as long for this move to come out as this. However, this is where it gets really important. This button is active, meaning it is capable of hitting an opponent for 5 frames. 5 frames. Now, that might not sound like that much, but consider the fact that her stand jab is only active for 2 frames. This move is active for an entire 3 additional frames. This button is dumb. I'll illustrate why this button is dumb later on, but just know that this button is one of the most important buttons for Laura. Period. It just simply is. It's one of her best buttons. It's amazing. On block, this button is +3. +3, right? Conversely, your jab on block is only +2. So it's an additional frame plus than your jab. Now, let's do some math here. So if this button is +3, right, and your jab starts up in 3 frames, what does that mean? Does that mean that your jab is now pretty much unstoppable? Kinda. There are systems in the game that you can use to get out of this, but basically, what Too Long Didn't Read, what this kind of means for you in this particular circumstance is if you push this button here. In fact, let me illustrate better because it's +3 on block, right? It's even more advantageous on hit. It's +4 on hit, meaning you can combo more things. But we're gonna set the other Laura to just block. We're gonna set her to block everything, right? And then here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set Laura to we're gonna set a guard recovery action here, just so it'll help us illustrate the frame advantage and how this works. So we're gonna set 2 important ones. We're gonna set jab. I'm gonna try it a few times here to make sure I get reversal timing. Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to mash. There we go. You always want to see reversal timing with that stuff, because otherwise you're not doing it as fast as the game says you can do it. And you want that. You want to do it as quickly as possible, as often as you can. And we're also going to set her to jump. Obviously, reversal timing doesn't matter for jumps. But jumps take 4 frames to start up, at least. I think it varies from character to character, but most jumps in the game start up in like 4 frames. And that's important, and I'll show you why. So what we're going to do now, since we recorded those 2 actions, we're going to set guard recovery actions. We're going to turn on jumping first, right? Jumping, along with a blocking opponent, will allow us to test frame advantage. It allows you to visually see it, because if you're able to act before your opponent, then that means whatever you do, even if it's the same thing, you'll start it before they do, right? So what you can do is, if you're testing frame advantage of something, a string or an attack, anything, you can set your opponent to guard, set their guard recovery action to just straight jump up, and then you hit them with the attack and you hold up. That way, as soon as you're done with the attack and as soon as you're able to act, you'll jump. This is making sense? Hopefully so. And I'm sure you'll tell me if it's not, but I'll illustrate right now. So what I want to do is I want to set Laura to we're going to do 3 frame jab. She's going to block it, and we're going to jump. Now remember, Laura is +2 on block with that attack. So I should theoretically land just before she does. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the jab, hold up, and I'm going to like kind of block over and over again so you can kind of see the progression of where they are in the animation. Okay? So here we go. I'll do it a couple times just so you can kind of see. Okay, so right now you can kind of tell they're still going up. My Laura is a little above this other Laura here, and I'm going to like unpause it and pause it again quickly. All right, so that was there was a bigger gap in there than I kind of wanted, but if you'll notice, what you can see of the Lauras on the screen, my Laura is hitting the ground before the other Laura, right? I'll do it again so you can see a little clearer. Okay, that's really, really good right there. So you see my Laura is like a considerable amount higher than the other Laura in her jump because I was able to start it sooner, right? Now, 2 frames, again, doesn't sound like a lot, but in a game where like single frames can make or break whether something hits or doesn't, or combos or it doesn't, that's huge. Which brings me back to medium punch. Medium punch is +3 on block, right? Well, first of all, look at how long it takes after Laura getting hit for her to actually leave the ground, right? Look at that. That's an enormous amount of time. Conversely, look at jab. It's slight. but you can visibly see the difference. She's on the ground a fair bit longer, right? So we're going to do the jump trick again, and we're going to pause it and see. She's going to land way before her. Look at that. I've already hit the ground and am recovering. She's just now hitting the ground, right? Now, check this out. If my math is correct and my understanding is correct, and I'm pretty sure I'm on point with this, then because this move is +3 and this move starts up in 3 frames, I should be able, if nothing else, I should be able to reset Laura as she's trying to jump. Best case scenario, I'll keep her on the ground like I was doing with Keith yesterday. So I'm going to try, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stand medium punch. I'm going to stand jab immediately after as quickly as I can, right? So let's see what happens. Okay, so that presents an issue. Remember, we were talking about situations in which moves whiff. So this move pushes her away just far enough to where stand jab don't hit. Like a considerable distance. So there's that to consider, right? So let's try, let's continue on. We'll revisit that later. But just know that, like, the fact that this move is +3 on block is pretty obnoxious. So yeah, just to continue and finish up stand medium punch for now. On hit, this move is +4. And what that means is for when you hit with this button, let me see if I can illustrate this. Okay, yeah, Laura's stand light kick is 4 frames, and her crouch light punch is 4 frames. And so is her crouch light kick. So we're going to see if we can combo this into anything. The pushback might be too much, but we're going to find out right now. We're going to go over all these buttons still anyway. I'm just trying to, like, show you what this kind of means. So that you can, as I give you these numbers, you can kind of think about this stuff too. So, all right. So let me take her off of guard. We'll just set her to no guard for now. So we're going to try to get crouch medium punch to combo into another button. Let's see if anything she has will even reach, right? So crouch light kick does not, stand light kick does not, and crouch jab does not. So that means that this button is not really one that you want to necessarily be comboing off of, but the fact that it is still as frame advantageous as it is has other implications, and we'll talk about that shortly. But we're gonna just finish up the buttons first, and then we'll talk about the tricky stuff. That's probably the best way to handle this, no? All right. So the next punch button, standing punch button, is stand heavy punch. Also a really good button. Also, notice a trend, and if you haven't noticed it already, you will eventually. So Laura's buttons move her forward. Laura is a grappler, right? Well, more on that later. More on that with news at 11. So, stand heavy punch moves her a considerable distance forward. That's first. That's pretty obvious. It's really good. It moves her forward fast. Stand heavy punch starts up in 8 frames. So, comparatively, this starts up in 6 frames. This starts up in 3 frames. This starts up in 8 frames. 8 frames is pretty average for a heavy attack in this game. Stand heavy punch is active for 3 frames. So it's active for 1 frame longer than jab, but 2 frames less than medium punch. Stand heavy punch is -2 on block, right? So it's minus. That's bad, right? Minus is bad. Well, minus is not necessarily a good thing, but depending upon how minus you are, it can mean different things. So a move being -2 in this game basically means that, and this is more or less universal, basically means that your turn is over, especially if you're in range of your opponent's attacks. Like right now, I am close enough for this Laura to jab me. If I'm close enough to hit her, then she's close enough to hit me, right? So hitting this and then hitting another attack, even if it's your fastest attack, you're -2. So the way you kind of want to think of it is that if a move leaves you at minus, then it leaves your opponent at advantage. So if this move leaves you at -2, then it leaves them at +2. Here's how that works. So if that Laura's at +2 and she hits her 3-frame button, what you do is, you do subtraction. You take those 2+ frames for her off of that attack. So basically, that means that if you do this, and you're close enough to get hit with her 3-frame normal, you will simply get hit. We'll illustrate. We're going to go back to guard recovery actions and turn off jump. And we're going to turn on our 3-frame jab, right? With reversal timing. Very important. So, she set the block. I'm going to do a standing fierce punch, and I'm going to try to just block it. I'm going to see what happens. Okay, we're able to block it, right? That's good because the move takes 3 frames to start up. So I have like a frame to get down in that block animation before I'm hit, right? Let's see what happens if I try to challenge with another button. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to hit 3-frame jab because it's her fastest button. Why would I not do that, right? Let's see what happens. Notice that. Counter hit, first of all. That lure got a counter hit. Counter hit meaning that the move started to come out and she stuffed it. And that was with pretty on point timing. I'm finding that now I'm not even getting that. There it is again. So with impeccable timing, it doesn't matter. If I push a button after doing this, then I get hit. That's what I meant by that button ends your turn if it's blocked. In most cases. Obviously, Street Fighter is a very plastic game, and there's lots of like kind of different nuances and rules on rules. But at its most basic, a button that is -2, you want to kind of treat like my turn is over. I am not going to push buttons after this because my opponent has the advantage. It has left me safe to where I can block because, again, fastest normal moves in the game are 3 frames. If you can block a 3-frame attack, you can block anything slower than that if you do this move and just commit to the block, right? Your turn's over, but that's okay. So if your opponent is smart, then they will challenge with the 3-frame jab, and that now they have even more advantage. So you have to treat moves like that the same. And this is why knowing the frame advantage is, or the frame data is important, because your opponents are intelligent opponents are gonna put buttons out like that, and they're gonna see how you react. You know, like if they know like this button is -2, let's see if he knows. If he knows, you'll probably want to challenge. There are caveats to that, and we'll get to that in a moment. But just for now, just know that that button and buttons that are -2 on block are buttons that you generally don't want to be following up with anything after. Let's move on. Actually, give me 1 second. I got a quick text message here. I want to see what this is. Phone, come on, Jesus H. Okay, interesting information. Hang on 1 second, let me respond to this real quick. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so back to what we were doing. Where were we? We were talking. Okay, we're moving on to the kicks now. So the process is the same. This is the process that you kind of want to go through with each button. You want to talk about the frame data first because the numbers are concrete, right? Spacing and all that stuff and where and when you use the buttons will differ, but the frame data will always be the same. Okay, so let me drink some water because I'm teaching thirsty work. Alright, so stand light kick. This button is 4-frame startup. So it's not as fast as this, but it's faster than this. Stand light kick is active for 3 frames. So again, faster than this, less than this. It is the same as this. It's active for the same amount of time as this. And we'll talk about active frames when we talk more about meaty attacks, because they're very important to Laura. Very, very, very important. They're crucial. So stand light kick. Starts up in 4 frames, active for 3 frames. Recovery we'll talk about as needed, but for right now it's not that important, because we're talking about buttons that are connecting. Recovery only matters when you're whiffing for the most part. But anyway, stand light kick is +3 on block. +3. So it's as plus as this button. Aha. Right? So remember that example I gave you earlier, right? We were trying to get that to combo into stuff. So Laura is set to 3-frame jab. This is +3, and this button starts up in 4 frames, making this essentially, again, if you do the math, a 1-frame move. There's nothing that Laura has that can blow through that. Sort of. It'll all make sense, I promise. I'm trying to be as thorough as possible, so I hope that's okay. So this move is +3, right? So essentially, since both of these moves are +3 and they're both able to reach after you push one or the other, check this out. I don't know if you caught what I just did. So you saw me do medium punch and the light kick, and that counter hit on my side, right? That means that the jab that she attempted to do, it recognized it. It just stuffed the attack before it even came out. I'm going to do the same thing in reverse. Aha, right? That's very important. And the fact that it beats 3-frame attacks is good, but there's another layer to that. And I'll talk about that once we're done with all the buttons, because it pertains to all the buttons, right? But just remember this sequence. That's gonna be very, very important. Moving on. So, stand light kick is 4 frames on hit. Alright, so we're not really concerned about that just yet. We'll work on combos and stuff later. Right now we're talking about the part that blows most people up, and that's understanding frame data, frame advantage, and disadvantage. Okay. Stand medium kick. That was pretty much stand light kick in a nutshell. Stand medium kick. That button. So again, notice it's another button that moves her hella forward. Alright, so stand medium kick starts up in 5 frames. It's a frame faster than this, which starts up in 6 frames. Okay? As you'll find when you're playing Street Fighter, most of the kick normals are generally going to be a little slower than the punch ones. That's just how it kind of plays out. This is a situation where that is not the case. I mean, it's just throwing like a little short knee, right? Really good button. It's kind of tall, and it moves her forward. Very important things. This move is also active for 4 frames, so you'll notice a trend that Laura's attacks are active longer than a lot of other attacks in the cast. Now, I know we've only just gone over Laura, but just trust me on that. That's really not the case for a lot of characters, and that's because Laura is meant to use her buttons for meaty situations and frame traps. And having a move that is active longer, meaning that the knee hangs out there, the hitbox on that knee is active just longer than other attacks. And I'll illustrate that later. This button is -2. So again, it's another one of those buttons where you push it, and that's it. This is not a button you want to just start throwing shit out after. Alright? Again, notice, I'm hitting 3-frame jab after this attack. It's -2, so I can do it and then block. But if I try to put an attack out, because this move starts up in 3 frames, and I'm -2, I'm essentially making this 3-frame jab a 5-frame button. Right? And that's not good. You have to be very cognizant of stuff like that, because if you don't do that right, then players who are aware of that will blow you up, and they'll blow you up bad. So things to consider. Buttons that are -2 generally considered safe, but that ends your turn. Stand medium kick is, just for information's sake, is +3 on hit. So you can push a +3, you can push a 3-frame button if it hits, and it'll combo. Let me see if I can illustrate this real quick. Notice I got the 2 hit, right? That's pretty easy to do. It's not that bad. You know, technically that's a 1-frame link, but like I was saying, because of the buffers in this game, the 1-frame link, easy. No problem at all. You just get the rhythm down and you got it. It's easy. It's much easier to do than it was in Street Fighter 4 or even like KOF in games where there isn't a real buffer like that. Yeah, you just, and that stuff, that's easy. You know what, once you know what it is, you can just practice it. Alright? So, beyond that, let's see where we're at. That was stand medium kick, alright? Now this is still going to be a very good button because of how active it is and the fact that it is technically safe. It's a button that you use at the end of combo strings, right? And for other applications, but primarily that. Any button that's -2, you want to hit it once and that's it. Unless you see it hit, then you can kind of do stuff afterwards, but we'll get into that fancy stuff later. Is this making sense, bro? Like sound off in chat if this is making sense so far. Which is good, because it also gives me a break to get a little water. Yeah, at any rate, we'll continue on, because I know if nothing else, even if you're like busy working or whatever, we can put it in the VODs. You can always review it later. So, we'll just continue on. So, the next button is stand heavy kick. Alright? Stand heavy kick. Notice, it's yet another button that moves lower forward. Fast. Far. It will be a good button if it kept her in place. But it doesn't. It moves her forward. Look at how far away I can hit you with this button, right? About there. It's like almost like a Laura and a half away. Look at that. Look at that. Right? Max distance. That's a really good button. Okay? Now it's not perfect. It's not like I wouldn't call it a god button, but it's a really good footsie tool. And we'll talk about footsies in a minute, but so that's stand heavy kick. Stand heavy kick is, where is it? Stand heavy kick is 12 frame startups, so it is not fast, right? But you're not using it to outspeed buttons. You're not using it to try to stuff things. You're using this to like dance, you know. Bam, like you can like walk up in their face when they, when they think you're gonna put out something like this, walk back and bow. Bam, like right when it looks like they shouldn't even get hit. You know. And even you can have it stuff that's like out here. We'll talk more about that later. But just know that's kind of how you want to use this button. You don't use this up here. You use it back here. Okay? So stand heavy kick is it's active for 3 frames. So that's not bad. A lot of heavy attacks tend to be active for longer than their quicker counterparts. Like her medium attacks are kind of unusually active. I think there's only a few characters in the game who have moves that are active like that. It's like Nakali, I think. Yeah, Kuma might have. So I think he's got a few that are kind of active like that. But yeah, hers are just kind of silly on purpose. So stand heavy kick. Where were we? Yeah, -4 on block, right? So this button is absolutely punishable, which is why you don't want to use it up here. You want to use this button from a range where things that can hit you are going to be too slow. So lower K, I'll tell you, I'll show you what I mean. We're going to set lower to guard here. We're going to set her to guard all. She's going to block. She can't even reach me with that shit, right? But if I do it from point blank range, and I'm just going to do it and hold block, she'll probably hit me. Yeah, because the pushback, it doesn't push back at all. Right? Because it's -4, she's got like a frame and some change because of the buffer to punish me. So you want to be very careful about how you put this button out. It's still, from the right distances, completely safe. But it's situationally safe because there are characters who will be able to hit this button with something, and you need to know that. Alright? So, on hit, this button is +1. You're not going to really be comboing after this button. This button is used, honestly, this button is used to crush counter things. We'll talk more about crush counters shortly, but it's a footsie tool. It's meant as a poke, a single button poke. And most characters have a few of these. Yeah? Okay. So now that's her standing buttons. We've gone over all of them, and we've talked a little bit about them. We'll delve deeper into like their import later. Right now we're going to do crouching normals. Same setup. So this is Laura's crouch jab. And you're probably wondering why she's flinching like that. So in fighting games, and if I could turn on hitboxes, I could illustrate. Notice at certain distances she doesn't flinch, right? But when I move a little closer, she does. Moves, in addition to their hit and hurt boxes, also have, I don't know what the actual term is, but I call it a block box. And basically what this does is, if you push this button within a certain distance, if like the invisible block box is contacting the opponent when you push this button, then it forces them to block, meaning they can't walk backwards. If they're holding back, they gotta hold that. They're stuck in place. As long as you're close enough to make them flinch, if they're holding back or down back, they're going to block. Now they can still backdash, but you can hit backdashes. So if you know an opponent is really trying to get away from it, you can use a button to make them flinch and then tag them with something like that to crush counter the backdash. That's advanced tech, but I saw that happening. I figured I should probably note that right now because that's really cool. A lot of people don't know that and don't think about it. There are some moves that don't have that little block box at all for very particular reasons. Again, that's advanced shit. We're not really going to talk about that, but just know that. Let's see here. Oh yeah, so crouch light kick. Crouch light punch. Starts up in 4 frames, so it's a frame slower than its standing counterpart. Still a good button. It doesn't hit low, but it gives you a different look. It gives you another move that is frame advantage. It's +2 on block, so same advantage as the stand one. It's just a little slower. That's fine. If both of these were 3, that'd be a little silly, considering all the other stuff she's got. Sorry, fire truck outside. Los Angeles is happening outside my window. Okay, and crouch jab is +4 on hit. So that means you can combo into any 4-frame attack. So into itself or shit, into that, you know. So on hit, just know that. So let's see what else. Crouch light kick. Damn, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Crouch medium punch. I'm talking about crouch light kick a lot. I like that button. But crouch medium punch starts up in 5 frames. And it doesn't move her forward, but what it does is she kind of steps forward for the attack and then backs up. So she can kind of like reach out and hit stuff and be out of the way of a punish. This button is kind of tricky to punish. But you can do stuff like that. You can use the natural movement of this move and stick out other moves after it, because this move, crouch medium punch, is also +2 on block. So first of all, your opponent's at a disadvantage just by blocking this attack. But the fact that you can even whip it in their faces and then hit them with an attack like that, that's pretty awesome. Because remember, I was using stand medium kick. Stand medium kick is 5-frame startup, right? +2 plus a 5-frame move. You do the math, equals a 3-frame move. Now, why was that hitting? We'll talk about that in just a moment. We'll finish the buttons up. So, we were doing crouch medium punch. Crouch medium punch is +2 on block, +3 on hit. Meaning that it'll combo with 3-frame. You can combo a 3-frame normal after it for free. As long as it'll reach, obviously. Crouching heavy punch is another really good button. I don't know how familiar you are with Street Fighter 2 or Super Street Fighter 2, but DJ, I believe it was his Crouch Fierce, basically looked just like this. And it's good for the same reasons that Crouch Medium Punch is good. It moves forward to hit and then kind of retracts backwards, and it's really hard to hit with fast buttons. Buttons that are fast enough to punish this, well, technically you really don't have any buttons that are fast enough to punish this. The only things that are would be Zangief Super and Raging Demon, because they are 1-frame startup. This button is -2 on block, so it's safe, but it's a turn ender. You hit this button and you wait to see what happens afterwards. You don't just follow up with another button, because that's you're doing yourself a disservice, right? But it's a really good button, especially if you're trying to like stick it out to like crush low attacks, right? So like, somebody wants to like stick out a crouch medium kick, you can bam, you can like elbow them right in the foot. And I believe this button is cancelable. It is cancelable, so you can do that, and then let me see here. Yeah. That's okay. We're getting too fancy. Okay, but anyway, this button starts up in 7 frames, which is actually pretty fast for a Crouch Fierce Punch. So you can use it to kind of fish for light attack or low attacks. Notice this move hits right at Laura's feet. Alright? It's clearly used for blowing up lows. It is not a low attack, but it will blow up low attacks from the right distances. So moving on, crouch light kick, finally. It's an alright button. Crouch light kick starts up in 4 frames, is active for 2 frames, and is +1 on block. And crouch light kick is still advantageous, but it's less so because crouch light kicks in general are considered low attacks. And you can see on the attack data here whether a button is or is not. Excuse me. And if you look at hers, right? Excuse me. Look at her attack box. And I'm hitting with a jab. It shows that it is a high attack. Hitting with crouch light kick shows that it is a low attack. They'll always tell you what it is. There's 3 different types of attacks. There's low, high, and mid. Mid attacks are what you would call overheads in this game. Like jump attacks. Pretty much all jump attacks are considered mid attacks because you have to block them high. You cannot block them low. Low buttons that are considered low attacks, you have to block crouching. You have to. Otherwise you will get blown up. That's why if you notice, the dummy Laura is always crouching to block these attacks. And she doesn't care about blocking, you know, like the jab or that. She has to block high for those and block low for these. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, crouch light kick, +1 on block, and it is only +1 on block because it is a low. Any more than that would be silly. For an attack that will open you up low and then be like +3 would be absurd. Because it would cover so many bases. It'd be like, why would I push anything else? And that's important. Blocking low and forcing an opponent to block a certain way is important because it's just another thing for them to think about and another piece of execution for them to screw up, right? You want your opponent to fuck up. You want to do everything in your power to get them to fuck up. You want to push buttons in good, safe sequences that leave you at advantage and make them have to like do gymnastics to block. More on that later, but that's the idea. That's why this is an important button, even though it might, on paper, look like it's not as impressive as, say, crouch jab, or stand jab, or, you know, stand medium punch. The fact that it hits low kind of makes that button very important. So, crouch medium kick is also a low. It's a much longer range low. It's a really good button. She gets her really low to the ground. Crouching medium kick is 7 frames, so it's not the fastest. It's as fast as her crouch fierce punch. It looks like it hits from further out. Maybe. Let's see. Let's see if we can test this theory. See how max range on this button is about here. Let's see here further. So about there, right? So where am I? I need a point of reference. So her head is right underneath those watermelons next to the toucan, right? And I'm just barely whiffing this button. So I'm going to stay crouched, and I'm going to hit crouch fierce punch to see if that hits. Okay, so that tells us that crouch fierce punch has a little bit more range than crouch medium kick. And that's okay, because this is a low. Again, it's a low. It's something that makes your opponent have to block a certain way. This is a high attack. They can block this crouching or standing, so the fact that it reaches a little further, not a big deal. If this reached as far or further than this attack, that'd be a little nuts. Moving on. This move is also -1, right? So we were talking about moves that are -2. This is no different, except it is less unsafe, right? It's -1, meaning that ends your turn. Anything you push after this, you're doing at a disadvantage. So, like, case in point, Laura's got a 3-frame jab, right? If I do this and then try to put, if I do this and block, I can block because I got time. I've got like 2 frames to block. If I do this and try to push a 3-frame jab afterwards, again, it's basically making my 3-frame jab a 4-frame jab because you have to add that negative frame onto your next action, basically. So I'm gonna do crouching medium kick, and I'm gonna attempt to jab right afterwards, and we're gonna see what happens. Okay, so you saw I got the counter hit, right? That means that the game acknowledged the jab. But because of that additional frame of startup that I kind of got from the crouch medium kick, even though they're both 3-frame attacks, technically, mine lost because she was able to act the frame sooner than I was. And assuming that your opponent is able to do the move on the first frame, it's not that hard. It's going to win, period. It simply just will. Just know that. Know that in that situation, if you're trying to push a button after this, you do so at your own risk. Now, against opponents who aren't paying attention or are not as good at the game or don't know that, you might get away with that. But just know that it's a gimmick. It's not. It does not work. It's, as people say in the FGC, it ain't real. You know, that's not airtight. Be careful about doing that stuff, because especially when you're playing a character like this who has lots of good safe strings, which I'll kind of show you how to put together in a minute. Okay, so that was crouch medium kick. Crouch medium kick is neutral on hit, meaning that it gives you no frame advantage. If you hit with this attack, you and your opponent recover at the exact same time. So you might as well just be like standing like this. Anything goes at that point. You're not at advantage, she's not at advantage, or whatever. Just understand that. These are numbers, guys. Numbers are law. Okay, so we'll do crouch heavy kick. Sweep. This is traditionally sweep for like pretty much everybody. There's usually always a character or two where this will not be the case, but her sweep is really good. It's got a good solid hitbox. It hits like right on like the balls of her feet, or like the toe knuckles. You know, it's a good button, and it is a low, even though it hits above her feet. It kind of reminds me of like Terry's sweep from King of Fighters. But crouch heavy kick, it starts up in 9 frames. That's actually kind of slow for a sweep. But this move makes up for it with such a really good hitbox. It's hard to punish unless you sweep it back, because this move is -12. Most sweeps in this game can be counter swept if done from like the right distances. So here, let's do this. We're going to set Laura to sweep after block recovery, right? Okay, and that was a reversal sweep, so it's going to do it as fast as it can. Let's turn it on now. So, we hit Laura. She's going to block and sweep. So I'm going to hit her with my sweep, right? We're going to do it point blank range first, just to illustrate that it is indeed punishable. So her sweep starts up in 9 frames, and if it is blocked, she is minus 12. I was holding down back the entire time. It's free. If you see a Laura do this, if nothing else, as long as your sweep is faster than minus 12, which I think every sweep in the game is, if nothing else, you will get a crush counter sweep. Well, I'm sorry, not crush counter. You'll just get a sweep. Period. You get a sweep. You get the knockdown, and you get a nice beefy chunk of damage. 90 damage ain't bad for just a free punish. Now, just know that you can usually hit your opponent harder, but if nothing else, if all else fails, if they're trying to like do a sweep from like out here where it's harder to punish, let's see what happens. She still got me. I was holding down back. It's free. Boom. It doesn't matter. Because of how long range that sweep is, it doesn't matter that it's only 9 frame startup. There are some sweeps in the game that are like like 7 frame startup, right? Like I think Guile's 7 frame startup. Ryu's might be, I think Karin's is like 7 frames. And you have to understand that, like especially characters who have really good range on their sweeps, like Karin. She has kind of crazy range on her sweep. Right? So she can punish you from distances where you don't even think you can be hit. It's all numbers. You just have to know that. Right? Okay, so that's pretty much all of her normal attacks, right? I'm going to get into command normals next. And command normals, for if you don't know, command normals are basically your normal attacks with a direction. So like there's forward heavy punch. That's one. We'll go over the rest of them in just a second here. But there's one other thing I wanted to definitely talk about before we moved on. And this is priority. Button priority. You've probably heard it mentioned a time or two. Button priority works essentially like this. Medium attacks take priority over light attacks. Heavy attacks take priority over medium attacks and light attacks. So basically, the heavier the attack is, let me illustrate. I'll show you what I mean. I did it earlier. I'm going to show you again. So in that illustration, I did stand light kick into stand medium punch. Right? So this button is +3. Hang on a second to make sure. Where's my frame? Yeah, okay, there it is. Yes, +3. Right? This move is 6 frames fast. But because this is +3, it essentially makes this 6 frame move a 3 frame move. Right? Laura's fastest move is 3 frames. That's a jab, right? So let's set her back to jab. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk up in her face. I'm going to do stand light kick. And I'm going to do medium punch. And watch what happens, right? Okay, notice. I got the counter hit, right? That means that the game acknowledged her jab. It said, you have pushed this button. Here, we're starting to move for you. But because of the frame trap that I used, by the way, baby's first frame trap, this move left me able to act 3 frames faster than her. So since I was able to start this 6 frame move 3 frames fast, it made it a 3 frame move. Now why did it beat it? Why didn't they trade? Right? Why didn't it trade if they were the same speed? Essentially because of the frame data and the way I set that up. Button priority. Because it was a medium attack, it will always beat a light attack of the same speed. That's extremely important to understand when you're setting up frame traps. Because if you can set up frame traps that are numerically the same, but with a stronger button, fuck, you win. Every time. Every time. Boom. Get fucked. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that she hit her 3 frame fastest button. You've made your stronger button, your more priority advantageous button, the same speed as her fastest button. So since 3 frames is the fastest any normal attack can be, this sequence will blow up any 3-frame button that your opponent tries to push. Get fucked. It doesn't matter. Stuff like this is what makes this character important, right? So just know that, right? And it goes double for attacks that can crush counter, like heavy punch. I want to see if I can set something up here. I don't think I have buttons that have good enough frame data to do this, but because yeah, if I do an attack that's +3, stand heavy punch, it'll make that a 5-frame attack. So yeah, again, you just shave off however many frames you are advantageous. You take that number and you shave it off of the attack that is coming after that attack that was just blocked. So if it's an 8-frame move, when you did a move that leaves you +3, it makes it a 5-frame move. So if your opponent does anything that's 5 frames or slower, boom, that's a heavy attack. Not only will it win, but if it's a crush counter attack, now you get a crush counter. Now you've got crush counter frame traps, right? That's a little scary. So yeah, let's see what we can engineer here. And sound off if this is making sense. I see people pop in and out. I hope that, like, if nothing else, they're like getting, oh, that's cool. This is about teaching and learning and stuff. So let me know. Sound off in chat. Let me know if you're digging this so far. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna take a short break here. I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep going. Like I said, I'll make this a video on demand and stuff so that people who are interested can go back and check this stuff out. I'm just gonna keep going over like the basic stuff, and we'll work our way up to more kind of important things here. I mean, it's all important, you know that, but more complex things, I guess, is probably a better phrase to use. So where do we leave off? So we did all the normals. We're talking about button priority, and I think I just made it. I just did an illustration on things that kind of show how that works. But yeah, that's basically the idea behind that. So that's normal attacks. That is their frame advantage. And again, I'm using FAT tool to go over all of these numbers. Right? It's a really good tool if you play Street Fighter. Then you can find it on like iOS and Android as well. That's I believe it's Frame Advantage tool, or it's just FAT tool. It looks like a little a blue Ryu logo. What I'll do is I'll put a link to it here in the chat. Let me see if I can find it here. Fat tool. Frame advantage. Frame advantage tool. Excuse me, frame assistant tool. I stand corrected. Yeah, it looks like a Dark Onion from the Shoryuken.com forums is who came up with the app. So I'm gonna go ahead and post this in the chat real quick, the link to that. So if you're not already using that, there was the V-Frames app, but I don't think they're updating that anymore. It was really cool, but this honestly is a better, more fleshed out tool. So there's the link to that if you don't already have it. For those of you who pop in, and if you need me to post it again, I will. But okay, so that was normal attacks, right? So we're gonna do command normals now, because generally the hierarchy the way you want to think about moves is normal attacks, command normals, and then special moves. And in between those, kind of like holding everything together, is which moves are cancelable into other moves. But honestly, before we get into that, one thing I want to discuss very briefly is counter hit state. So counter hit state is, it works as such. If you hit with an attack, one second here. Yeah, okay, it is on. All right, so let's take her off of guard. So you can kind of force counter hit state on, and if you'll notice, the game pretty much always gives you a counter hit. Now, the easiest way to get a counter hit is using things like frame traps, and you stuff your opponent's buttons before they even get a chance to become active, and you get a counter hit, right? If you happen, and basically what counter hits do is they add frame advantage to your attacks to allow for more elaborate setups and combos and stuff like that. So you get things that wouldn't normally combo that will. Let me see if I can get an example going here. Let's see, does that combo without counter hit? I don't know exactly. Let's find out. It does not. Now it's a link or a target chain that you can do. That'll combo. But those moves don't naturally link. But you can make them link using counter hit. Now, if you'll notice, if you were watching closely, when I tried to link them before, they hit obviously, but I didn't get the 2-hit link message. Yeah, and like they work the same. Basically, like you use frame traps like you always use frame traps. The idea is to like lessen the startup of the move that's coming after the one that you that you blocked. You know, generally you do frame traps off of blocked attacks, and that's why you want to put block strings out using safe buttons. All right. So, in addition to frame advantage, what you also get from counter hit state is crush counters. Crush counters are very important because they do a few different things. Let me turn V gauge to normal. We'll just turn it all to normal, right? So, let me spin the meter real quick. Super is. I don't know what her moves are. There we go. Punishment time. Okay, so now my B, I'm just gonna empty out my bar real quick. I just have to wait for hers to run out. Nothing she does like makes it empty any quicker, but that's okay. Here, I just do that, I guess. Keep forgetting I have the shortcut set up now. So, I am empty, right? So I'm going to land. I'm just going to do a crush counter heavy kick. Now, pay attention to what it does to my my V meter and my critical art gauge down at the bottom, right? It gives me an enormous chunk of V meter, like a 25% V meter for her since she's only got 2 bars. Like, that's huge. Now, you also get V meter from taking hits and using your V skill, right? Every character in the game has a V skill, and every character in the game can use their V skill to build V meter. Laura's is her overhead. So notice, now it crush counted, so I think it gave me more, but I'm going to turn counter hit off and let's see how much it builds. Okay, so considerably less, but still, like, you'll be using that move a fair bit in your game, in your gameplay, right? Now, her V skill you can also use as a dodge, like a command dodge. You can like hold backwards and she'll dodge backwards, and you can just hold forward and tap it and she'll command dash forward. Now, it looks distinctly different from her actual dash, and she makes noise when she does it. That's how you can kind of know. Noticing the difference kind of tells you what your opponent might be trying to do, right? But using the audio and the visual cues, you know, will pay off for you if you're observant and you're looking for very certain, for very specific things. Like, lures like to do this kind of shit in your face when they think you're like kind of, when they think you're not paying attention and they're trying to catch you slipping. And the only way that you know what's going on is if you've taken the time to see that, oh, look, her command dash, first of all, she has one. Secondly, it looks different than a regular dash. You know, and finding out how it moves. Now, specifically, you can hold back with Laura and tap it once, and you'll get the back version of the dash. But if you continue holding it and double tap, you get a forward dash. And it looks kind of tricky. Now, let's look up the frame data on this. Let's see if it's as solid as we think it is. I'm pretty sure that move is minus, and I'm pretty sure if you catch a Laura doing that, you can jab him out of it. Let's find out. Okay, so V skill forward is 21 frames fast. V skill backwards is 26 frames fast. And V skill backwards and then forwards is 29 frames fast. So there's 3 specific things you can do other than just letting it rip like that. And that's just neutral V skill. Steve Holt. It's not called Steve Holt. It's like multi-line. But there's forward, which is 21 frames. Backwards, which is 26. And then back, which is 29 frames. You can do that really fast, though. You can do it too fast, but you gotta work to do it too fast, right? But it's a funky look, especially if you don't use it a lot. Right? So you kind of use it to like be sprightly and maneuver around the screen, or you can like backdash and wait a second. You can see the buffer on that's really long, and that's so you can't just like backdash overhead, because that would be scummy. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get Laura to V skill on. We're going to see if she can V skill forward off of guard recovery here. Basically, I just want her to do it, and then I want to see if I can punish it. pretty sure I can. 21 frames is an enormous amount of time because I don't believe she's invincible during the dash. We're about to find out. We'll set slot 3 to... Oh. I don't know if I'm going to get a reversal message for that. Oh, you do. So it looks like it gives you a reversal message for everything you do except for like just basic movement options in training mode, which is dope. Okay, so let's turn it on. So now, and when she blocks, obviously, she should dash forward. Okay. Yeah, so, yeah, she's... As long as you give her time to start up the dash, she's hittable the entire time. Let me turn off, yeah, counter set to normal, guys. Like, that's a crush counter. So that move is crush counterable. So if you suspect the lure is going to do that, boom! Like, from distances where they would do it, that's when, like, having nice pokes like this, or this, that are, like, obviously, like, lures wouldn't, like, do that. They wouldn't. It would be a poor decision to do her dash after blocking a jab. First of all, the jab is plus. You know, there's a whole laundry list of reasons why you never, ever want to do that. You would generally do that dash from distances where they're not really sure what you're going to do. You know, just because it's meant to be a, it's like a surprise tool, right? But just know that that dash is not invincible. But yeah, it don't matter. Yeah, and if you do it early enough, like on the startup of the dash, you get a crush counter. That's pretty goddamn enormous. So that's some stuff right there, right? Those are like some big things that like lower players kind of just use to blow people up. Like, she's got really good buttons. She's got good safe buttons, and I think they've gotten better since season 2 started. But she's got gimmickry. Like, this is not real. If you understand the dash and you know to look for it, obviously you don't always want to crush counter it. But if nothing else, you can put a jab out. You can blow it up with like something quick. That's a 2-hit combo. You know, stuff like that. Just knowing that this move is what it is and it works the way it works, maybe probably make a few less prone to use it. Or if you're fighting a lure, now you know. It's like if this dude is just like doing this silly shit in your face, if you see him like just blatantly using this move in the range of your attacks, kick him in the head because he's being a stupid. And he's probably getting by on the fact that people that he plays don't know that move you can just blow up with a damn jab or whatever, really. It's minus 21. Anything faster than 21 frames you can pop. Which is like every button ever. You know, obviously pick a button that's going to give you max damage. You know, so if you're looking for that move, if he's giving you reason to look for that move, like if you see it, like he's just doing this shit over and over and over again. Lures generally don't do that. But if you see him being obvious with, like, if he always goes like jab, jab, dash up, jab, jab, dash up, jab, you know, shit like that. If you see him continue to do that, like, take note. If they do it twice, chances are he's going to do it a third time. Maybe not in a row, but he's going to do it again. Especially if you haven't really contested up until that point. It's your job as a player to make him regret pushing that shit. Every single time he pushes that shit that you obviously recognize. Blow his ass up. Alright? So, all that to say, you gotta do your homework, because otherwise, you know, if you just look at this move, it looks fast as hell. You would think, oh, it's a dash. It's probably pretty good. Maybe, who knows? Go find out. Go set the dummy to do that shit and see what you can hit it with. Can you hit it at all? If so, how hard can you hit the dummy? You know? Important things. That's what these are. Basic things, but important things. Because if you don't have good basics, then you're building on nothing. You might as well build, you know, you're trying to fight with a sand, you're trying to live in a sand castle, right? That's like 5 feet from the freaking edge of the water. Don't do it. Take time and get yourself a good foundation. Learn your tools, learn your buttons. And even if you're not the best player, honestly, people who do this makes you a better player than most. The fact that you are taking the time and doing this. It just simply does. If you're taking this, if you're heeding the lessons, if you're paying attention to the numbers and you're using them appropriately, or at least trying to, you're not going to do it right out the gate. That's why you play so many games. That's why you practice. But the fact that you know this, you can go, I think I can blow that up. Let me check my tool. Yes, sure enough, I can hit this or this or this or whatever. But if you don't even endeavor to know this stuff, then you're going to make it that much harder for yourself, yeah? So things to consider. Give me 1 second, guys. I hope this is helping, man. I mean, like, this is lore for sure, but like stuff across the board. Like, I mean, I know, I'm sure a lot of you guys probably already know a lot of this stuff, but like, I don't know, if you take one nugget away from this that like helps your gameplay, helps you think about this a little bit differently, then cool. Dope. So I'll continue on for a little bit longer here. I'll probably stream until about 4:30 or so. I know we had like that little disconnect in the middle of the stream there earlier on, but I've got a few calls I gotta make before it gets too much later in the day here, and I want to make sure to get those done. So, but yeah, whatever. We'll keep talking. You know, whatever. It was my flex day. I don't give a shit. So, anyway, continuing on with the V skill. So, V skill overhead, right? You will probably get hit by this a time or two. Just know, V skill overhead, in terms of speed, it is 20 frames. 20 frames startup. 20 frames. Every single one of Laura's buttons is faster than 20 frames. This move is a gimmick. It's a decent gimmick. It's a gimmick. It's meant to, like, you scare people who are crouching and you blow their asses up with an overhead, right? Now, it's -7 on block. So that means you can blow it up with pretty much your choice of button. I'm pretty damn sure that, like, everything with the exception of crouch heavy kick and maybe stand heavy punch, and you can blow this move up with pretty much whatever you want. This move is spook factor. So we're gonna illustrate this a little bit here. We're gonna set we're gonna record her to do the overhead. Reversal timing, that's good. And it's okay to mash the shit out in there. As long as you get reversal timing, that's really all that matters. So now, oh shit, I forgot to turn it on. So now, when I hit her, she's gonna do that overhead. V hold. Now notice, it is an overhead. It's a legitimate overhead. I think it's the only one she has. And that's good to know, because, you know, you want to be careful ducking against that. You want to block and then watch for the overhead. But it's a 20 frame overhead, you know. You have all goddamn day to block that shit. I can sweep, recover, and still have time to block that. It's slow, but it's used as it's a trick. It's a gimmick for when people think you're going to dash. You can, whoop, you know. It's crush counterable, and you can keep them grounded if you hit it early enough. Now that's Stand Fierce, right? That's an 8-frame button. I can sweep it to get the crush counter sweep and the hard knockdown. By the way, in case you didn't know that, crush counter sweeps, hard knockdown. Let's see how far away I can. Trying to hit it as late as I can. We'll see if I can like hit a reset. So yeah, okay, so it looks like most things are keeping her grounded. Take note of that, because you can get stuff like this. Let's see here. Let's see if I can do this faster. Maybe that might be too slow. Okay, well anyway, your combo of choice lures. I think most of them do like shit. Like let's see, I don't know her shit. I'm learning too, guys. So something like Rudy Poo baby ass combo. Now what you want to try to get is something more substantial, like forward heavy punch. Okay, so that actually air reset. Yeah, off of her target change, she's got like a really simple ass combo that you can hit, but that's okay. The idea being, honestly, it doesn't matter what you do. Like you can punish with whatever the hell you want. Oh, I forgot I set health to finite. Anyway, the idea being that like for singular button presses, you don't have to respect that, and it's -7, meaning that again you can. As long as you block it, you can hit it with most of your buttons, even Crouch Fierce. Yeah, like I'm not really going to go over combos because I don't know Laura's combos, but like we can talk about like the simple stuff like frame data and like frame traps and stuff, because that's just math. You have to practice them. And she's got some nasty, tricky setups, but that's why you watch better players who specialize in Laura, right? This is just going over simple shit and teaching you how to learn the very bare basics of your character. Because this works with all characters. Obviously, the tools are going to be different, but you look at all the numbers and the frame data and the buttons the same way. How does this button move my character? What are the frame advantages? Like what are these buttons on advantage? Are they advantageous at all? You know? What does a button that is -1 or -2 or hell even -3 mean? If a button is -4, that sounds pretty punishable. Most characters have a 4-frame. All characters have a 4-frame button, right? Which would mean that like if I do this move and it can reach, that they should be able to punish it. But where does this button leave me? Is it a good long-range button? Can they reach with their 4-frame attacks? If no, then the button you can pretty much regard it as safe. Your turn is still over. But, you know, teaching you how to think about what these numbers mean so that you understand what you're looking at. It's not just a gobbledygook of fucking numbers, right? Turning these numbers into meaningful information for you and your characters. Make or break all the difference. It's the reason when you play a Bison or another character who has just, like Laura, who has just stupid ass buttons that are hella frame advantageous and hella active. By the way, let's talk about that before we go. It's the reason, like, I can't hit shit. She crush counters and counters everything. She can just push whatever the fuck she wants. Because you don't know the frame data. They're hitting you with things that are probably not completely, like, airtight, but because you're scared to push buttons, you're not going to challenge them, or you're challenging in the places that seem obvious, like, surely that's, nope. It's a gimmick. You have to know the frames. You gotta know the frame data in order to get past some of that harder shit. You don't always have to know exactly what the frame data is, but just knowing that a move is advantageous or disadvantageous for your opponent makes all the difference. If a button is advantageous, don't. You better don't. You better don't hit nothing, block it. Block it, watch for the grab. If you've got V meter and you really just want to get them off, V reversal. Because now it just resets the situation. Make sure that you're V reversaling like heavy buttons, stuff that is giving you a second to see. Make sure they're committing to moves before you V reversal and just mash it out, because you'll get blown up for that too. This game is all about measured responses. Smart choices, measured responses. And it's easy to do that if you know what you're pushing and what you're pushing is in these different situations. It also helps you think about, all right, he pushed this button. This button is this many plus. Well, first of all, it's plus. Don't push shit. Or he pushed this button. This button is -5. I can hit that numerically. So what do I hit it with? Well, that's what you need to practice with your character. You practice those things. You find out what this character has that is not plus. And then you find ways to blow it up. People bitch about Laura. People bitch about Urian. They're going to. But that's fine as long as you're going through and you're going, all right, this I can blow up. This I can blow up. This I can blow up. You know, stuff like that. We haven't even touched the special moves yet. We'll probably save that for another time. But I just thought it would be neat to kind of talk about just the basic stuff, because honestly, the same rules apply to special moves. Special moves are subject to priority just like everything else. But also, special moves have special properties. Like some of them have armor on them. Some special moves are invincible. Considerably less now, but still some of them have different types of invincibility. Is this move throw invincible? I will talk about command grabs real quick, because that's important, and we'll talk about meaties real quick, because those are kind of part of this basic stuff, and they're what make this character and other characters like her very scary. So let's talk about meaty attacks. So earlier on we were discussing things like medium punch, medium kick, and those two buttons in particular are meaty as shit. Let's see, I think there was another one. I think it was like stand, what was it? Stand medium punch, stand medium kick, and then crouch heavy punch. Are all 4 frames. They're all 4 to 5 frames active. This is 5 frames active. This is 4 frames active, right? So check this shit out. See if I can engineer a reset situation here. Actually, let's try. I'm going to give you a situation that's probably a little simpler to set up and read here. Let me make sure that this move hits on crouching. I don't remember if it does or not, but we're about to find out. So I want to set her to guard all, and we're going to set her to crouch. Okay, so first of all, this move hits crouching. Not all moves will. I'm going to really take her off of. Just wanted to sit still for a minute. This is another thing you want to check out. Do all of your moves hit crouching? Can you just do all of your standing attacks and they not whiff on your opponent? If so, that's pretty huge. That's a big deal. That means you don't ever have to like avoid a move because your opponent is crouching, right? That's scary enough by itself. So this move is active for 5 freaking frames, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to sweep Laura. We're going to set her to recover. We're going to set her to just normal recovery for now, right? That way she quit. Normal recovery in training mode means quick stand. Back recovery means you roll backwards. And then no recovery means you just let the character rise naturally, which is the slowest of the 3. One thing you may not have known is that if you throw, you can only slow recover, like that means you don't push anything, or normal recover. You cannot back recover off of throws. So that's one less thing that you have to think about. Let me illustrate. Notice she did this. She did the exact same wake up, right? So I'm gonna crouch. I'm gonna sweep her now, so you can see that it is indeed on. Notice the back roll. Notice the back roll. Notice the normal stand-up. She has to do that. Even if you input the command for back roll, which is like just tap back on wake up or 2 kick buttons, you'll still get the quick stand, which is I think down and 2 punches, or either or. You don't have to do them both, but know that's huge, because when you're setting up situations and and looking for ways to keep advantage over your opponent, know that you don't. There's an entire situation that you don't even have to worry about. You know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see to serve 4 enough. I think it leaves me too far away to do it. So let's try sweep. What I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to combo. Well, I guess it won't combo, but I'm going to try to hit with. I'm going to try to hit this move medium. So I'm going to sweep her, stand over her body, and put this out. The idea with a media attack is you want to put it out as late as possible. That's not correct. Excuse me. You want to put it out as early as possible so that the move is coming out on their wake up and is active already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you want it to hit on that 5th frame, right? You want it to hit as late in the move as possible. That way you are even more advantageous, right? And I was doing this with Zangief all yesterday. You want to hit with that move as late in the animation as possible, as late in the active frames as possible, because basically what you're doing is you're giving yourself even more frame advantage. So let me see if I can do this, right? That might not be possible. It's because of the logistics of the move. But we're going to keep trying, because this is what you have to do. I don't know. I just know mathematically that's what you want. More often than not, I see people doing this move off of a reset. So you know what? That might be a better situation. Let's do that. We're going to set her to jump. We're going to set the dummy to jump. We're going to reset it in the air, and we're going to put out crouching medium punch, right? If I can freaking... God damn it, Laura. And this is one of those things you have to time, right? Because I don't play Laura. I've seen people do this. I know it's possible. I'm just trying to figure out what they use. I think stand medium kick seems to be a really good button to reset with. Boom. And then you put the medium punch out on top of them. If you time it right, it'll keep them in place. Like that. So that was really difficult to see, right? But what happened there was Laura, I put that move out, and it kept Laura from jumping. But it hit really late in the attack of that move. Like, it went out, and it was out for a minute, and then it hit. It's very subtle. It's kind of difficult to see meaties, but that's kind of how they work. The move is out, and then off of that, then because of what Laura's do, that move is plus. It's ultra mega plus, right? On block and hit. It's like +3 on block, +4 on hit, I believe we established. Which means that when you hit that stuff, now the world is your oyster. You get to start your Laura shit. I don't know Laura shit, but I'm showing you how to start it because, quite frankly, as a Zangief player, that's all I give a shit about. I need to know how she starts the stuff. Because if I know how she starts it, then I can begin engineering ways to get the fuck out of the way. Or I know what to respect, so I'm not getting hit by errant buttons afterwards, because I guarantee you, Laura players who are silver ranked and above are going to know this shit. Or they're going to know at least some of it. They might not be good at it, but they're going to know. So the sooner you start figuring out how this shit works, obviously if you're playing the character, you're going to want to know it. But this is a character that's going to be very, very prominent in Season 2. So you want to start learning this stuff. That was Baby's first beatie. That was, these situations you kind of have to set up on your own, honestly. I can't, I don't have time to sit here and do it all myself. What this is meant to do is kind of give you examples on what this stuff is, how it works, and why it works. So yeah. So let's see here. So I'm gonna what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna anti-air her with medium kick, medium punch in. Notice that hit, right? That was even easier because this move anti-airs, right? So that anti-airs, but so does this. Boom, boom. And like, if you didn't have anything invincible out or with armor on frame 1, you're gonna have to respect that move because you can't stop it. Right? It's already active and on you as you're hitting the ground. That's why she's getting hit and getting stuck in place. Obviously, like, you have to factor in distances, but, you know, let me see if I can come up with like a little Woody Poo combo here. Let's see. Let me see what combos off of this. We'll have her crouch for a minute. Okay, fuck it. We'll cancel into her medium punch elbow off of that. Right? We'll just do that. We'll keep it simple. So we're gonna have her jump. So we gotta time it right. So yeah, this is like something you might like. This is obviously like tech that is more powerful in the corner based upon how it moves her, right? So anti-air. Situations like that. For example, you want the move to you want to anti-air them, and then you don't want to give your opponent a chance to do anything else, if at all possible. You want them to put a button out. Go ahead, try. My shit's active. It's been active for like 18 years, bro. My shit's old enough to vote, right? And it's hitting you in the face right now because you did something other than block. Tough, right? So that's just one aspect of Laura. So another aspect of Laura is the fact that she's got a command grab. Laura's command grab is not as good as Zangief's. Zangief's is 5 frames. It's as quick as a regular throw. Laura's, I believe, is 6 frames. Let's see here. Oh no, I stand corrected. Her shit is 5 frames. That's even scarier. So this means that basically you use command grabs and throws interchangeably, right? Because they're the same speed. Command grabs, generally, they're harder to do, yes. But they do more damage. That did 180 damage. That was heavy command grab, right? 180 damage. Our light one does 160. Medium, I would imagine, does 170. Yeah, sure enough, 170. Easy peasy, easy to remember, right? Her regular throw does 120 damage. So at worst, you're getting 40 more damage. Again, that doesn't sound like much, but that's 30 damage right there. It's like you're getting like a little less than 2 jabs worth of damage. That shit adds up over time. You want to make sure you're taking advantage of that. So, her command grab is 5 frames. So basically, you can use your frame advantage on your moves, like I was doing with Zangief, again, to set up set up very similar situations. Like a move is +3, they blocked it, go. Good. So let them block it. I'm gonna set them to guard all, and I'm going to throw this. That is, or this. Hey, this button. Let me see if I can even command grab, because this might push him too far out. Okay, so that's too far, but that's okay. This don't. Boom. Right? So this move is +3. +3. So I hit this, wait a second, and you use it as a tick. And what it does is, this move is +3. It makes her command grab 2 frames. That means you have 2 frames to use something invincible, because there aren't any buttons that are 2 frames. Coincidentally, the things that are faster than 3 frames in this game are invincible attacks, like Zangief's command throw and Raging Demon from Akuma now. Those are, as far as I know, those are the only 2 moves in the game that are that fast. And that is kind of like a loose cancel. It feels like a link, like you're linking the command grab. That's basically how tick throws are supposed to work. But like since all of our regular ones anyway, are 5 frames, as long as it'll reach, you have to test the reach to make sure you're not pushing yourself out of range. But that was the heavy one. Boom, boom. So now suddenly blocking becomes absolutely horrifying, right? But that's when people start fucking up, and that's when Laura can start really employing her moves that are very heavy with active frames, like stand medium punch, stand heavy kick, crouch heavy punch, to keep your opponent grounded, you know? Because suddenly it's like, oh my god, what the hell is she going to do? Is she going to throw? I don't know. She's already proven she knows what to do. Is she going to do just a ginormous, stupid, safe block string on me? She very well could. Boom, boom, boom. You know, +2, +2, +3, plus, what is that? That is +1. Oh, that's minus, I think. What is medium kick? Let's go back and refresh. Stand medium kick is -2. Okay, so it's still safe. You just can't do anything afterwards. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. All right, so let's try, right? And this is how you practice safe strings. You set your opponent to do something like jab, the fastest thing, right? So we know she'll do it. So now we just have to practice the timing, right? Okay, so we already know that was probably not a good string because she's proving it right now. That is +2. That is 6 frames. That's not good. But what did we learn? We've got another move. That is a light attack. That is a 3-frame button. This one, right? It's not a 3-frame attack because otherwise this would be the God button because this would lead to everything. It's smart that this move is only +2. It's still advantageous. It makes this a 4-frame attack. So if your opponent doesn't have a 3-frame jab, suddenly that becomes real. And knowing that is important because you can harass people with that shit. You can give them something to fear other than this, right? Right? Just by knowing your frame data, you're able to, well, and this is smart. Again, she's got a 3-frame button, so the game will tell you if your shit's real or not. Try shit. Try putting together different strings of safe moves and see what works and write down what works. Right? If it doesn't work, throw it out. Or understand that, like, all right, so maybe it's not a 3-frame frame trap. Maybe it's a 4-frame frame trap. But yo, if you're fighting characters that don't have 3-frame attacks, the 3-frame ones will still work as well. But now you have a whole nother chunk of ones that will work as well. And now you've got variety to play around with, just because you understand the character knowledge. Hey, what's up, Down Tempo? What's going on, homie? Yeah, man, we're just talking about frame advantage and like just kind of putting stuff together here. So, like going over buttons and frame advantage, disadvantage, how it works in this game. Right now, I was just talking about putting together like strings of safe attacks. So yeah, that's what we are doing for at least a little bit longer anyway. I'm getting ready to wrap it up here, probably like the next 30 to 45 minutes. But yeah, I mean, like it's been pretty quiet in the chat so far. I was like, I know Insert was wanted me to go over stuff, so I was going over Laura Tech, but it was good for me too because Laura's going to be one of those characters that's really strong in season 2. So, yeah, just going over buttons, like reminding myself what all these things are. You know, going over some of her gimmicky stuff like her dash and her overhead, which is super minus. The dash, which is also very, very punishable. You know, like I was holding back after I did that. It's 20 frame startup and it's -7. You know, I just going over how important the frame data is in this game. You know, and like I'd imagine like you played Street Fighter 2, right? You were all about that. Like, if I recall correctly, I think you were saying that was the last game, the last Street Fighter game that you played. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if that's the case, then I mean, like, that game was super, super duper duper. Frame data was incredibly important in that game once people figured out what it was, because like your reversal windows are really small. You had one frame punishes were literal one frame punishes in that game. Here's a little easier, so the numbers become more effective because they're easier to implement. I was also mentioning, like, if you don't already use it, there's Frame Assistant tool on iOS and Android. It's a free app that you can download that will show you all the frame data for all the characters. Extremely helpful stuff, because it's got other tools as well that kind of it tells you how to set up situations like what I'm showing you here right on the app, and that's super cool. So for sure. And that's fine, honestly. Like, you don't have to know this stuff to enjoy Street Fighter, but if you want to enjoy Street Fighter on a deeper level, if nothing else, understanding the frame data will take you a lot further than, like, obviously just kind of winging it. So I'll go over it some more. I'll kind of give like a quick overview again if you'd like, but even if you don't, you can watch this video again, and I go over all of that stuff. I just go over every single one of, like, Laura's standing and crouching buttons and the frame advantage, and I go over setting up, like, media attacks and stuff like that. And that's all. You just use the numbers. You use the numbers to set all this stuff up. And then there's things like button priority, which they don't really tell you about. I don't know if the FAT tool has information like that, but if nothing else, I don't know how much they're updating it, but I know that the Prima guide for Prima Games, like their Street Fighter V guide. Okay, cool, man. Yeah, please do. I'll be sure to, like, tag it and upload it and all that stuff to make sure it's nice and neat for you. Twitch was kind of weird today, but like the entire last chunk of this, I pretty much, you'll see it. It was just Laura. It was this screen right here is probably what you'll see on the preview. Yeah, man. Thanks for hopping in, bro. But yeah, what was I saying? No, yeah, putting stuff together like this that's what's going to make or break, like, kind of like the mid-level of players. Like, if you don't understand that, then you're going to find it very difficult in this game to beat players who do know that stuff. Like, you don't have to get even you don't even have to be good at it. You just have to know that it is a thing, know that it exists, and, like, respect it. You know, if you keep trying to blow through an attack that is 4 frames, and they, after a move they are doing that is +3 or +2 or if it's plus, you probably shouldn't be challenging after it. You're going to lose. You know, knowing even if you just know, like, this move is plus or this move is minus, that tells you a lot right there. That allows you to inform your to make better informed decisions on what buttons you're pushing and win. More importantly, characters like Bison will suddenly become a lot easier to fight. Yep, like you said it for me, homie. Bison, Laura, Urian are going to be, and Rashid too. Rashid is another one. There's a few more. Like, Cammy can be really nasty too, like that. She's got some really meaty, nasty frame block strings and frame traps, and they're really easy. Like her forward heavy kick and a, like, crouch medium punch. That's like, it's really simple to set up, but it's, oh god, I still get hit by that shit. You know, and if she hits with that, if you're close enough, you can hit with stand fierce punch because it's, you know, 6 frames too. Actually, no, that might be incorrect. It might be stand fierce punch. So don't quote me on that one. But if nothing else, you get spiral arrow or cannon spike afterwards. So you got options, but, like, when you understand the numbers and what they mean and kind of what they're telling you, then you can suddenly put together stuff. You can go and, like, I literally have a spreadsheet that I made, right? I need to update it for Zangief, but I made a spreadsheet when I was first starting the game. My roommate, Mike, Aegis Neglector, he does this stuff too, but, like, just a Google Docs spreadsheet that basically I go through and I pick a move, and I find out after the move what can I do? And then I test every single option I have. Can I dash up? Yes or no? If so, can I dash up and do an attack? Yes or no? If yes, what can I do? Alright, now off of this particular type of recovery, like off of a back roll, can I do anything off of this move if they back roll? Can I dash up? Yes, no. Can I do a thing after I dash up? Yes, no. So on and so forth. You just kind of like, you build it. People hate this word, but you build it like a flowchart. But what that tells you is like, all right, I know if I see him do this, I can do this. And if I do this, I've got options. And when you know you have options and you know what they are, suddenly the game becomes a shit ton easier to play because you're not scrambling around trying to figure out what to do. You know exactly what to do because you punished with this move, or you dashed up and you put this move out and he blocked it. So you know if you push this move out and you block it, hit this button. And if you hit this button and they block it, what do you do from there? Those options are your choice. But within the frame data, as long as you're working within the frame data, your options will always be smart options because you're not going to leave yourself at a disadvantage. Or if you do, you know that your turn's over. That's it. You don't push any more buttons. You're watching for him to do stuff, and you're watching for him to maybe like try to reversal through that last button if he thinks it's like something unsafe. At that point, that's where the mind games and the gimmicks come in, right? But you got to know the basic stuff first. You got to know the concrete shit. You got to know the data. So you definitely want to make sure to like nail that stuff down. At least become somewhat familiar with it. I don't know shit off the top of my head. That's why I keep the two. But as long as you can kind of like go through and, all right, I know my character's frame data. You know, this is plus, this is not, this is minus, so on and so forth. Know your important buttons, and like know the important shit that you get bopped by the enemy. And then go on a training mode and set the dummy up to do those things and find out what you can punish that thing with, or if you can even punish it. You know? That's important. You know, because there are some matchups, again, Bison comes to mind right away, where if you don't know that shit, he will just eat you up because you feel like you can't push anything when you can. You just have to know when. There are very specific times, there's very specific moves that Bisons will do that you just bop for free. Or if nothing else, even if you don't punish it, you get an attack out, and you're able to get an attack out that leaves you at advantage. So now the Bison has to block what you're doing. So you have to make sure that what you do off of that button is effective. Otherwise, you got a turn and you just wasted it. When you think about the game in the terms of there being turns, like this move allows me more turns. Characters who have more plus buttons on block give you more turns. It doesn't matter that you didn't hit them with this attack. Did you make them block it? If they blocked it and that button is +3, you've got 3 frames to put something else out. That's maybe better, maybe a heavier button. Like if you've got a 7-frame button, right? And you've got a button that leaves you at +3 advantage if it's blocked, and you push that 7-frame button, it's a 4-frame button now. Well, that was a bad example now because I just remembered Bison now has a 3-frame normal. That makes him a lot scarier because now you have to come up with shit that's tighter, right? All things to consider. All things to consider if you care. If you really want to get good at this game, that's probably the easiest thing you can do. That, and then just practicing your situations. I'm in the same boat right now. Like I'm what you would call a middling player. Like I'm getting better, but I'm getting better kind of as a result of putting myself in check, mainly by playing on stream for you guys and talking about this stuff. It's helping me kind of fact check myself, and I go in and I try it. Does it work? The game gives you the tools with which to practice this stuff. If you're not taking advantage of that, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're making it harder for yourself to get better. Sometimes just knowing that you can do a thing, it's like, there's no question. You're not gambling anymore. This is concrete. That is math, dog. If he blocks this and Laura does a 3-frame jab, her fastest button, that's +3. That kick I did is +3. If I do that and then do stand medium punch, it will win. It doesn't matter what she does. It's plus. It's plus. You know? So unless a character has an invincible attack that is like invincible on frame 1, you know. And like again, that's hard, man. You want to leave gaps as small as possible, right? You know, if you must leave gaps, you want to leave small ones. And by gaps, I mean like just the timing of like the block stun or hit stun of the preceding move into the next move. You know, like if this leaves me at +3 and I do an 8-frame button, there's a 5-frame gap there, right? That's a pretty considerable gap considering pretty much every character in the game has a 5-frame button, right? That means they can push that thing and it's going to win, unless it is of a lower priority, meaning like if that 8-frame button I push that I made a 5-frame button, if they push a medium attack that is 5 frames, mine is going to crush counter theirs simply because it's a heavy attack and it takes priority. I talked about that earlier in the video. But those are things to take note of too, because you can come up with setups specifically to crush counter specific buttons in specific matchups, because you know Bison's thing is this. I can engineer a setup for this off of this button that if he does that, and I know he's gonna, I can crush counter as long as I can get him to block this. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. It's still safe. You know, it might end your turn, but it's safe. You know, but that's all about being creative. When people say get creative, you gotta know what your tools are in order to get creative. So on that note, guys, I've got some other business to take care of. I really hope that this was edifying and like interesting, and if you like it, I'll keep doing it. But like, thank you guys for coming and watching. Those of you who did, I really appreciate it. I'll do more of this. I like doing it. I want to play some more matches next time, but I'll be playing Street Fighter tomorrow, by the way, as well. If I don't have like a gig or something to hop over to, but I'll let you know. I always let you guys know at least like an hour to 45 minutes ahead of when I actually stream. So I'll be playing actual matches as well, and I can still show you stuff, but it'll probably be with Zangief just so I can stay warm. But honestly, basic stuff like that I can teach you with pretty much any character. If you have questions, ask me the questions. If you want to know something, we can test the shit out and stream. If you want to play, let me know. We can run some sets. However you want to do it, let me know. Yeah, and we'll talk more tomorrow about it. So you folks enjoy the rest of your evening. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll be back tomorrow. Take it easy, all right? Peace.